temperatures, and less lawnmowers running while I'm trying to record. Hashtag just voice actor things. Anyways, enough of me whining. Let's get to today's quickie, wink, lesson. Vocal warm-ups. If you are not already doing warm-ups prior to recording, then I really can't stress the importance of it enough. To make sure that you are at your best, your voice needs to be ready. No one can just roll out of bed and be record ready. Well, except maybe Chris Pratt. As with all of these advice pieces, I want to state that this is my opinion based on what works best for me, so please take this with a grain of salt. Do your research and make smart decisions, and you will find something that works best for you. This is going to cover some general tips as well as some things that I do for myself. And be aware that if you are planning on recording after you've been using your voice all day, this won't apply as much. This is mostly for those who are just starting the day with recording. Alright, step 1. Drink your goddamn water. I mean it, Renara. You need to be hydrated in order to be at your best. And this is going to help you avoid mouth clicks and other noises of the like. And if you even try to argue this point, then just stop listening to this show right now because I'm incredibly disappointed in you. Step 2. Once you are in your recording space, start off by phonating and dropping the intensity until the only thing you are hearing is vocal fry. What is vocal fry? It's this. You're simply going to play around with that, raising and lowering the pitch just to get your vocal cords accustomed to moving. I do this for about 1 to 2 minutes, depending on how I'm feeling. So again, start with a note, and lower it. Step 3. Start speaking words that have that ah sound, like cat, rad, or yeah. And when you're doing this, really stretch out those facial muscles. Yes, you will want those warmed up as well. I found that this helps me in not stumbling over words, but overall, this is just trying to get your body prepped for the next few steps. Again, cat, rad, yeah, and do that for 1 to 2 minutes. Nothing crazy. Step 4. Start by speaking or singing in your most comfortable register, which will be closer to your normal speaking tone. The voice is starting to wake up and you are basically trying to give it its morning coffee at this point. I personally choose to sing, and I'll choose a song that sits in my lower register. Now you're not looking to push yourself just yet, so no Whitney Houston or anything like that. Just sing or speak quietly at first, and then increase the power over the course of about 5 minutes, which is roughly 1 to 2 songs if you're singing. Step 5. Feeling pretty good so far? Excellent. Now we're going to kick it up a notch. Start by singing a note in your comfortable range and then go as low as you can possibly go. So for me, ho. While still holding that note, go all the way up as high as you can go without straining yourself and then go back down again. So for me, ho. Repeat this process a number of times and try to be consistent about it. You're going to want to be ready to show some range, and you're going to be pretty sad when you try and it just comes out as squeaks or squawks. Step 6. Return to speaking or singing and try pushing yourself a little more this time and make sure you're flexing that range while you do so. This is the time to really get your vocal cords raring to go. I usually have about 4 or 5 songs that I sing while I'm setting up my DAW and other stuff in the booth, and it just helps me get comfortable and ready to record. 15 minutes is approximately what I shoot for here, but you may need more or less time. And there you go, you are ready to audition or record. Well, I guess you're recording while you audition. Never mind. There are some bits that you can include in this process to be ready for certain roles, such as shouting or raspy or growl. But if you want that advice, you're going to have to come join our Discord. Link is in the description. With that being said, let's get to our show with your hosts, Zamawadi, Renera Hake, and as always, that bald fuck with the glasses. Take it away, folks.
Thankfully, I wasn't wearing glasses today because that would also have applied to me. Welcome to Cold Read the podcast by voice actors for voice actors. Much appreciate you all being here. Whether you're here for the live recording, whether you're listening to us anywhere you get podcasts, or if you're watching a YouTube video, we appreciate all of you. Intro was by Eldorino. Hey. And you know, because I haven't been able to do much in the way of voice acting, but I've been doing a ton for the review, the musical review that we were doing live. And yes, warm-ups are extremely important because everybody sounds like shit if they don't do it. So Yeah, much appreciated. If you have any questions, anything you want us to talk about, you can email us, coldreadthepodcast@gmail.com. Or, like Eldorino already said, you can join our Discord. Link is going to be in the description. You can come in, you can talk to us directly. If you have any questions, we have a good network of people that we can reach out to and hopefully find answers for you. And we would love to hear your audio. So if you're working on, say, an accent, or you're working on a demo reel or a particular part, drop it into that Discord, and we would love to give you constructive feedback regarding your audio. We did that last week. Unfortunately, we missed you, Eldorino. We would have loved to have you there. There was a couple of screaming ones that we would have loved some tips on. Hopefully next time we can get everybody there, right? I mean,
I forgot I was supposed to give like a sermon on that, and I didn't. So I will do that later on this week. I'll put a huge like novel in the comments.
perfect. That's what we'd love to see. But yeah, so an elephant in the room for those of you that are watching or have noticed that you've not heard Renara. Renara is currently missing. We hope that you are doing well, Renara, and everything has worked out for you. Hope to hear from you soon. But yeah, other than that, let's check in with our team. And then Christian, thank you so much for being here. We're checking with you here in just a moment. So normally I go with Renara, but we'll go with Dorino. Dorino, how was your week?
Past 2 weeks have been
That's right.
kind of up and down. I was not around last week because I had a tooth pulled out, and
Ooh.
my face had like, this huge swelling on it. So I would have, had an even better face for voiceover. Yeah, that's part of the reason that I was not around last week. But in the meantime, I can now happily announce that I am a part of a space combat game called Between the Stars, and I play a character named Sheep.
Fascinating.
Which, despite the name, talks like this all of the time. So I am in the end game, so you have to play through the whole game in order to get to where I'm at. But I'm very excited to purchase that and then hear myself, because I'm super vain like that. On another happy note, my wonderful fiance has decided that she wants to also get back into voice acting now that she has more free time and doesn't have to worry about school.
Yes.
Which super awesome. I'm glad that somebody is using the booth that I built. Yeah. And then I guess the rest of the week, really, I've been really trying to focus on beefing up my portfolio, because I've been applying for certain jobs like music composition jobs and audio engineering, and I realize my portfolio is lacking. So now I keep setting myself these goals, and then I just immediately forget about them. But I'm now setting myself a goal that I will not forget. I am once a month, or at least I'm going to try and have at least one song per month written and put in my portfolio that covers a variety of different like genres, for like scoring for animation or TV or movies or what have you. So yeah, it is up. That I actually put that song, the one I just completed today, in our Discord. So if you want to hear it and maybe give me some feedback, or if you just want to shit talk it, come join our Discord.
But constructively shit talk it, please, because yeah, we don't want to go down that road.
I mean, our guest joined by saying "I fucking hate you" as soon as he showed up. So, like
Hey,
at this point, I'm just like, whatever, man.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, saying "I fucking hate you" is sort of constructive, except not. But in any case, Zamudi, how was your week?
Thank you, Dorino. Unfortunately, my week was I mean, like I mentioned, I've been working on the show for live. We're going to be doing a review coming up in 2 weeks, and we need to make sure that everything's on there. I did a ton of editing for this thing, so yeah. I've really been flexing my editing muscles, which is a lot of fun, and makes me want to go back into content creation. Voice acting wise, not much in that. I need to get a couple projects done. I'm hoping to do that right after the show. I did hear apparently the Energies, which is that original animation, is going to be coming out here soon, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm playing Ivor in that. It's kind of like a superhero type of thing, completely original project. Yeah, so there's apparently there's t-shirts and stuff that are coming out for it, so I'm looking forward to see where this goes. So
I should get you in contact with this other podcast that I edit because it's all like Marvel focused, and I'm sure they'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to. We'll see what happens. But yeah, for me, it's been a fairly quiet week. I'm still readjusting. Just barely started getting back to work, and then immediately like passed out for 12 hours yesterday. So that's how it works out when you have the fatigue.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's refocus and let's go. Christian, hello, and thank you for being on the show. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, yeah, no problem. Glad to have you aboard. And how before we get into your story and how you got into voice acting, how has your week been?
Good question. I'll be honest, like ever since I started really like jumping into acting, like full frontal at the beginning of this year, most weeks are just a blur to me. Like every day, like I struggle. If it weren't for Google Calendar, I'd probably just be completely lost within a rabbit hole. This was the first week coming off the back of a throat infection that I had that completely just took me out, so I couldn't do anything. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I had to. Yeah, and do you know what? I will say this, and I think for anyone listening, this might be pretty huge. When you have that kind of illness, I think it was laryngitis. But I had to go to like the hospital and everything. I could breathe and all that.
Oh, shit.
It really did make me appreciate just how valuable the voice is for everything, like for standard acting, for voice acting, podcasting, music, even just like the little tidbit jobs I do, like bar work. I couldn't do any of that, And also, funny, when I was at the hospital, I'm at the desk. And I'm like trying to explain the problem, and the doctor gets it, but the receptionist, no. She's like asking for my life story, and I'm like, breathe. And she's just like, oh yeah, like where do you live? Like how long have you been in this, this city? I'm like, come on, man, just give me a break. Like I can't. It hurts. Like everything hurt. It got to a point where like I would drink water, and not only would it hurt, but I'd have to swallow it twice. Like in a weird kind of way. I don't know exactly. But the moral is be grateful for what you have, man, and appreciate it, because as soon as it gets taken away, you're gonna miss that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah. Well, glad that you're feeling better.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. It's a shame they didn't give you like something to write with. If really the perception is like, and then just start writing answers down for.
Well, that's what I would have thought.
Right.
Common sense. Just like, here's a piece of paper, write down everything. But no, it was like let's just get him to exercise his vocal cords more, even though he can't breathe. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Why not?
Healthcare. What can you do?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Banter. Yeah.
So, Christian, let me ask you, how did you get into this thing called voice acting?
Yeah, it's interesting. I got into important point I want to illustrate.
Sure.
I pursue acting and voice acting separately. I consider them to be completely different industries because the approach is different. When I do voice acting, obviously we don't have to sit and learn the lines necessarily. We can if we want, but it's more about encapsulating the voice, focusing on the accent, and also trying to put across the emotion, because you can't see this character, as in you can't see the person acting out, right? So it's all about the voice. But then with regular acting, or on-screen acting, I tend to call it, to make the distinction. Obviously, you have to learn the lines, you have to think about the body language, everything. So that's why I consider them to be separate.
Gotcha.
And I approach it separately. About 5 years ago, I was living abroad in this country called Estonia, and I was doing like some marketing work or whatever. I'd given up on my dreams. I was just kind of like corporate sellout, And I'm sitting there in an office, and I'm just like, I hate this. And I remember the days when I used to do music and creative stuff, and hey, look at me now. It's depressing. It's it's the shits. Anyway, one day this guy comes up to me in my office, and he's like, hey, I know some people that are doing a short film, and they're looking for a guy who's British from London. And I just burst out laughing. I thought it was really funny. I was like, like the only British guy in London last 500 miles. So yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. I didn't take it seriously. I just applied. I was like, yeah, whatever. I get the role. Find out it's the lead role.
Oh.
So now I've got to sit down, take some work off, so time off work, learn the lines, all that.
Yeah.
Day one, we're there, we're filming. I instantly fall in love. That was the beginning of acting. Now with voice acting, a few months later, or maybe let's say it's probably about 6 months later, actually, I'd done a bunch of films at this point, and I changed my day job. So I'm doing a different type of marketing role. And they're paying someone in the States to do voiceovers, right? And basically the guy raised his rates and they weren't willing to pay him the increased rates.
Okay.
Right? So they're like, oh, hey, Christian, you're English and you can speak. Would you want to do this? Because it's they've already got me writing and doing, being the sort of port of call when there's anything to do with English. Might as well just use me for this. But I saw this as an opportunity. I was like, oh, great. And basically all they wanted to do was they wanted me to read these articles that they'd already written for their website, but just speak them, and they called it a podcast. It was more like a series of educational videos or audio. I don't even know what to call it. Call it Business Pig podcast. Fine. Anyway, it was a lot of hard work. But I enjoyed it. I was like, oh, there's something here. This is interesting. I don't know what it is, but I can do this. And it's the more I do it, the better I get, right?
Yeah.
Naturally, you practice something enough, you get better at it.
Yeah.
Usually.
And as the years kind of followed and I kept pursuing acting, I also kind of applied for voice acting stuff. And, I'd heard about voice acting before and the concept, but I never really considered that was a thing I could get into. Same with acting. And then I just started seeing opportunities arise and I started applying for them and I started kind of experimenting with my voice a little bit. And then that's when it clicked and I realized, oh, I can do different things with this voice. I can go high, low. Some of that was connected to music. So I've got quite a varied range. I can go low, I can go really, really super high. And obviously that lends itself well to voice acting. But again, we've got to practice a lot. Obviously at the top of this show, you mentioned about doing exercises, training the voice, etc. I think also resting is important. Part of the reason that I got ill, I think, was not resting enough, to be honest. So that's an important part of this. But anyway, a combination of all these different things and my stubbornness and unwillingness to not give up and just keep going, keep trying, and keep seeing where this can take me. And to be honest, I have a lot of fun with it. It is fun. Voice acting is a lot of fun. And it's kind of crazy how it doesn't get more attention. I believe it's beginning to, but it's still early days. I think in the coming years, we're going to see a lot more attention placed upon it. But like anything else in life, it takes a lot of dedication and practice. And I think I've been going at this now properly for the better part of 2.5 years, maybe 3, give or take.
Okay.
And it's with podcasting, with live streaming, music, everything, it's all helping to exercise that voice and kind of see where we can take it. But, just like an instrument, you got to take care of it.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Good on you. Normally I ask what kind. Well, okay, so you decided to get into the whole voice acting thing. What equipment did you first get?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some really just shitty mic from Europe that cost me like $20. I didn't have any appreciation of this. I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just plug it in and play, right? No problem. And then the crazy thing was I started doing, what was it? I started doing a podcast. I think it was, okay, so I did one podcast before my current podcast.
Okay.
And it's one of those typical, last 7 episodes, then it ends on a would you rather, and it's like, it's the shits. And I wanted to keep going because I love podcasting. I always wanted to do it. I never gave a shit about, becoming famous or being like a big successful podcaster, yeah, that'd be great, but like it's so oversaturated. So really, you got to find goals, clear things you want to do with it. I always wanted to do it. I wanted to do it for like the better part of 15 years. Finally did it. Did it on my own terms. I love it. 3.5 years later, I now do 2 shows. I do one. It's called the Christian Reeve Podcast. It's an interview discussion style show.
Okay.
And I also do a show on my Patreon called Life with Christian Reeve. And one is just me talking, one is me interviewing people or discussing with them. So 2 different kind of feels. But point is, it's constantly like exercising my voice and, you know, getting that experience. Anyway, back to the mic thing. So I start with this shitty mic, and one day this guy, shout out to Stelzy, German Twitch streamer,
Okay.
and just content creator, and he dips in and out. He's mostly just doing business stuff right now, but he at the time saw what I was doing and just sent me this like huge donation, and was like, hey, get yourself a mic and a guitar, get back into it.
Oh wow.
And that's the mic I still have to this day, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. So every time I get a chance to say thank you Stelzy, you're awesome.
That's so cool.
That is
Yeah,
very
man.
cool.
Well, that's the thing. You don't get anywhere in life without people believing in you and supporting you. And equally, when you get to the top or when you start making progress, bring people with you. That's how it goes, man. You know, you got something coming up, you got a project, you can book people that you've met, other actors, crew, whatever, bring them with you.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's about. And that's what it was with him, and that's what it is with my current community that I have. You know, people will believe in you and they'll see your vision. And no matter how crazy you might feel and how isolated you might feel at times, as long as you keep pursuing that vision and it's clear in your mind, things will start to come together. But it's about being patient. You know, you take podcasts as an example. How many shows have you seen come and go? They get to like the first 10, 15, maybe 50, and they give up. Why? Because, I don't know, maybe they thought they'd make loads of money out of it or become a big famous successor to Joe Rogan or some shit. And it's like, that's possible, but it's highly unlikely without an existing following or,
All right.
I don't know, just something really unique or, you know, etc. But at the end of the day, if you've got something clear in your mind, a clear goal, and you keep pursuing it, I think eventually things will start to develop and happen. And that's how it happened for me with podcasting, with getting a decent mic and all these things. And it's still coming together slowly. So yeah.
Yes, voice acting in itself is definitely more about the journey than it is the goal.
100%.
Yeah, and I totally relate to what you said before about like the support factor, you know, because like I, much like pretty much every other artist out there, I get inside my own head way too damn much, and I imagine a lot of other people do too. So having that person there or that group of people to say, "Hey, you're doing fantastic," like stop telling yourself that you're a piece of shit. Like my fiance just told me that the other day. Like the song I was working, I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. She's like, "What are you talking about? This is great. Like put it out there, you know, let other people see it." So yeah.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
It really is. I can relate to that a lot.
No.
I mean, I think for me personally, I just kind of, part of it is, like I said before, is stubbornness. You might as well just put it out there. Fuck it. Just do it. But the other part is like, you know what? It does take a lot to bet on yourself. And a lot of people, especially people who don't get it or either don't see your vision or think that you're just, you know, hobbyist or you know, whatever. You're just, I've had people say, you know, I have my head in the clouds and shit like that. And it's like, look, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it is not real or it can't happen. And you're always going to be your own worst critic. You're always going to be the biggest voice in your head telling you you're crap, you can't do this. But you just have to kind of reconcile with that voice and say like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this anyway, even though I don't necessarily feel this is the best representation of what I'm doing. I mean, I get it. I'm sure you guys can relate, and probably people listening. when you're sending off like auditions sometimes, and you do a couple of takes, and some days you walk into it and you're like, yeah, I'm nailing this. This is great. I'm on top of my game. Other days you're there and you're just like, this is the drizzling shit. And it probably isn't. It's probably really good. But in your head, it's that, yeah, it's just the worst thing ever. But there's a point where you have to draw a line and go, do you know what? I'm just going to send this off. I feel I've done my best in this particular moment. Move on.
Love it.
You know?
That's good.
I don't know if. Sorry,
No.
one quick thing. I don't know if you ever deal with this yourself, Christian, but recently I auditioned for this game that I've been waiting on for like a couple of years now, and I saw it come up on Backstage actually.
Nice.
And there was a few different roles I did, and one of them was they asked for a Minnesotan accent, which is where I'm originally from, right? And so I took it to the next level, like really phoned in almost. But it's it's still authentic. But I also did a role that was more of like a like Brooklyn, New York accent.
Yeah.
And as I was listening to them back, I was like, my natural accent sounds like fucking shit. Like the New York one sounded better than my natural accent. I was like, how the hell does that work? Like, do you ever deal with that where it's like you try putting on an accent and you feel like it sounds better than just your like normal British accent?
Yes, I hate my voice.
No.
I can't stand my voice.
Fair enough.
Every time I have to edit a show and I hear my stupid voice, or I hear a clip or playback sometime, I fucking hate the sound of my own voice. Do you know what as well? Just a side note as well. I think that sometimes it can be more difficult to act in your own voice, because when you're using a different voice, it's like disassociation. You're playing this character. It's not you, so you can climb into this character, especially with voice acting. It's like climbing into this role and feeling it and thinking like, oh, how would this character think and feel, etc. And it works for both on screen and voice acting, I feel. Yeah. But when it's your own accent, I don't know, it feels a lot harder, because this is the voice that's connected to you as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And to then play a different character but still sound like yourself, I feel like maybe it's distracting in some way, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've had people tell me like I've got a nice voice, but I just don't hear that personally.
Right.
And I know the voice sounds different in your head versus like out loud, but just, yeah. But short answer, yeah, I deal with that all the time. But maybe it's just a confidence thing, have more confidence in yourself. But yeah, I don't know. That's a tricky one, that.
Megan in chat says, haha, I think we all hate our own voices. And I know I do. I think we've only had like one or two people who's like, no, I love my voice. And I mean, it's like, yeah, I kind of could tell that you love your voice,
This guy loves the sound of his own voice.
Sorry, Dorino, I cut you off.
What a loser. No, just kidding.
I was just gonna say, like, it's very rare that I ever get to use my like Minnesotan accent, at least when especially that phoned in. So it may just be simply because I just haven't been able to practice it. The only time I really used to be able to is like during the Twitch Sings days, where I would take a song and I would sing the entire thing in my Minnesotan accent. So, and it was super fun, but like I haven't done that for years. So yeah.
Yikes. Well, I just no, go ahead.
I just think of Brock Lesnar every time I hear him on this Minnesota for some reason.
Brock Lesnar, wow.
He's from there. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he used to play for the Vikes.
Well, yeah, not many people would talk about his NFL career. That's interesting.
I don't watch football, but I used to watch wrestling a lot, and I'm very well acquainted with Brock Lesnar.
I'm a huge wrestling fan. Huge.
Oh, yeah. So okay, so we've got your equipment down. We've got where you started. We got that you hate your voice. Welcome to the club. Where did you
hate Voice Anonymous?
Yes, Voice Haters Anonymous. I like that. VHA. Let's go. Did the podcast start first, or did the voice acting start first? I'm curious.
Mm.
Or was it kind of at the same time?
The business thing that I mentioned was the first thing.
Okay.
I think I did a few voiceover things beforehand. Yeah, so I started dipping my feet into the voice acting, voiceover stuff.
Mm-hmm.
More voiceovers,
Gotcha.
and then eventually voice acting. Yeah, the podcast didn't come till like mid 2020, something like that. You know, obviously we had a lot more time then.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. We were all locked away for some
yeah.
reason.
But I always knew I was going to do a podcast eventually. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes that things just align, don't they? You know,
Yeah.
that's honestly how it's felt. Like everything feels connected. Acting, voice acting, podcast. It just all feels like it interlocks in some way, and they all feel different, but they all kind of require the same level of dedication and focus, and you know, everything just, you know, it's like the old saying, practice makes perfect. Okay, you know, practice doesn't make perfect, but practice does mean that you will get better and become good at it. Everyone starts and they fucking suck, and then eventually they get better, and then before you know it, you're doing these big things and you're like, oh wow, like I remember when I sucked and now I don't suck so much.
I mean unless
Hopefully.
you're Chris Pratt.
Right, no
Yes,
kidding.
I made that joke twice.
Yes. So most of your opportunities early voice acting were like people just looking for, hey, I need this guy for voiceover, or hey, I need this, or were you going to websites, or how were you getting your first gigs?
I think a few of them were student things.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I don't know when I discovered Backstage, but that website has been like such an amazing tool. Like anyone listening, get yourself on Backstage. It's amazing for voice acting.
Fascinating.
I get
Really?
stuff, yeah, I get stuff all the time in the States and like Australia and Europe and etc. Like if you look at my acting credits, a majority of my credits are voice acting because I've just had more success in that. Plus you can do it from home. All you need is a mic, computer, boom, you're off to the races. You know, obviously you can improve that equipment over time, get a bigger setup, more professional. But do you know what? If you got like a mic, pop filter, and some headphones, I mean, that's a really, really good start right there. Of course, recording software as well. But
Right.
I mean, you know, you could even use like Audacity, which is free, and you could probably pull it off on that. That's a really good resource. Sometimes every once in a while someone will reach out. Like I post all of my auditions online.
Interesting. Where is it,
Yeah.
like what is it now, X or Twitter, or where do you put? I don't know.
Nobody's calling it X. We're not doing drugs here.
Is it Twix? What is that? What we're gonna?
Sure. I don't know. It says X, but it's probably like 10 or I don't know.
I don't know.
Tenor. We'll just call it tenor.
You know, that's a bad name, would it?
Apologies for the sidetrack. This happens sometimes. We all squirrel. So, but I mean, where do you post them? I'm curious.
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube
Nice.
Shorts,
Okay.
and yeah, I've started posting on Twitter every now and again. Threads. Yeah. But yeah, mostly Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. TikTok's good for it. YouTube Shorts gets a lot. You get a lot of hate on there because people don't understand what auditions are. They think that they're like, what is this? And it's like, I just don't have the energy in me to explain that it's an audition, even though it's really obvious because there's a fucking microphone there. So clearly I'm doing some sort of production thing. But it's like, oh, this guy thinks a lot of himself, or this guy's weird, and it's like, it's just do you know what? It's just a funny, silly video. Like, if
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just hate you haters on YouTube Shorts.
Well, you know what? It's
off.
still engagement. So if y'all want to come over and hate Cold Read the
It's true.
podcast, please come on over. We'd love to have that engagement.
Yes,
Very
please.
Cool. Yeah.
That's the painful reality of the internet, but it's true. Yeah, the more engagement you get, especially hate. I mean, it means that people care. They care enough to send you hate, which is better than apathy. So
Cool. Christian, have you tried anything like CCC or any other casting call club, if you're curious, or maybe like one of the Discord groups, voice acting club, anything to that effect?
no, I've had a gander at those. I've I'll be honest, I've kind of always had like weird vibes with the Discord stuff. It always looked a little bit dodgy to me. Not familiar with CCC, so I can't really comment on that.
Gotcha.
Other places I've had work is what I wanted to mention with posting stuff online is sometimes the idea there is not just to demonstrate like, oh, hey, here's content, here's what I can do. It's also every now and again someone will reach out to you, be like, oh, hey, can you do like a voiceover for me? Can you do this? I've got a few commercials through that, a few voiceover work through that. So
Nice.
I think there's something in that. Sort of maintaining a constant presence, constantly posting, constantly kind of showing people like, hey, here's what I can do.
Yeah.
Employ me. You know.
Here's your network. I mean, this is how you build. This is how you. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Have there been? Is it mostly like freelance stuff? Is it some paid stuff? I mean, did you get these? I know for me, I'm still doing some of the free stuff that comes in, but I'm very much starting to limit it because my time is getting more and more shorter as I go along. So I know how that goes.
Mixture.
Gotcha.
A lot more paid stuff now.
Good.
This has been my most successful year in acting so far.
Awesome.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you though. Like I'm getting a bit more picky now with projects.
Yeah.
Because my portfolio is building up now. I've kind of demonstrated, hey, I can do a lot with my voice now. And I'm also quite fussy when it comes to like who I work with. If I see like unprofessionalism, I kind of check out, I clock out. There are certain things I expect, and most of the time it's pretty good, and I don't have any worries. But every now and again, there'll be something that ticks me off. Like for example, obviously our industry right now is predicated on like sending self tapes, especially with voice acting, right? But every now and again, you'll get someone, and this is just me. I know people will disagree with this, but this is how I feel. If you get sent through sides and they've already gotten you to read like a page worth of stuff, and you read it and you record it and you send it over, and they're like, "Oh, that's great. Can you please do like 2 or 3 pages more?" I don't. I'm like, you've heard the voice.
Yeah.
You've heard the voice. You don't need what more? Do you know what I mean? Like it's becoming. Now you need to pay me money. Like what is this?
Right. I mean,
Either you like it or you don't.
Yeah, I'm not doing. You've already seen where you're. I'm not doing the whole commercial for you. I mean, come on, because I've seen a lot of those. Your audition will only be considered if you do the whole thing, and they've got like 4 pages worth of crap. It's like, no, I see what you're doing here. Come on, I'm gonna give you a couple paragraphs, and then we're good, right?
Well,
I mean,
not just commercials, dude. Like, I mean, yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I avoid that like the play, but I'm talking like just straight productions as well. Sometimes it'd be like, oh, we want to hear more of like how this character sounds, and it's like you've already got a good.
No problem. Hit replay.
Idea.
You'll be all set.
Well, I mean, I feel like when they come back at you with that, like that almost shows a certain level of uncertainty in their own character. You know, like this character isn't fully fleshed out. We don't know what he sounds like or she sounds like. So they're just kind of like fishing essentially. They're just casting their line and hoping to pull up whatever catches on.
I don't know, man.
Fire and Brimstone in chat says, "Ignore the morons, embrace the people who like your stuff." You know, it's just absolutely.
I remember one time I did an audition. Okay, so I sent the self tape in, and this was for a physical role, but still applies. So I'd applied. I'd sent the self tape through. They said, "Oh, hey, we're gonna have a 1-to-1 callback," which is a bit of a, mixed kind of feelings thing. Because normally callback means audition, like we're gonna audition you, right?
Yeah.
But what they said specifically was it's a callback, but we're going to discuss the vision of the character with the director. So I didn't prepare anything because I'm expecting conversation.
Right.
To discuss the vision of the character with the director. That's exactly what was said.
Yeah.
I go into this meeting, and it's 2 students, and I'm like, okay. And like, nothing wrong with working with students. I've worked with students many times, but they didn't specify that. I like transparency. So if you're not transparent, you're already on a bad footing with me. Because it's not like it's lying, but it's like you're purposefully withholding information, and I don't like that. Anyway, I sit down. I'm like, okay, I'm going to give them a chance because maybe they're professional. I've worked with professional students before, some of whom have been even more professional than people in the industry. So, um, so sit down and we're reading through stuff and they're getting like surprised that I don't know the dialogue. And I stop and I'm like, well, hey, listen, this is what I expected. This is what you said to me.
Wow.
This is different. And they're like, oh, and then one of them goes, oh, well, I thought I explained that in the email. And I'm like, no, you didn't. But I know not to rise to it. I'm like, okay. So we carry on. And they keep saying things like, oh, just look into the camera when you do it. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I still need to read the sides, right? But whatever. So I do what they say. I keep going. And at one point, the director stops me and just goes, oh, yeah, that's fine. But this was bad. And this is why. Remember that. And then she carries on. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Unsolicited feedback like that. Didn't ask for. We're already off on a bad footing, and she's, like slating me here. Now, not normally, I would take criticism. I can take it on board, but in this instance, I'm kind of fucked off at this point. Like,
Sure.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Adding on to stuff. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. I don't say anything. We carry on, and then it gets to a point where, okay, so I'm set up like I am now with the camera, the microphone, headphones on, and they're like, oh, we want you to record a scene. No, sorry, they didn't even say the recording thing. They were like, oh, can we imagine you're at like the wash basin washing your face and then you're spitting something out, you're doing this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I sort of go, I'm thinking like how I could do this, and I'm like, this is stupid, this is ridiculous. I'll go, listen, if we're gonna do this, like, why don't I just send you over a video of me doing that, like in the actual bathroom or something? And they're like, oh yeah, maybe we could do that. That's great. And then I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm not gonna work with these people. This is how bad this is now. Imagine what it'd be like 3 weeks with these people. And then they kept pushing me. They're like, oh, so you're gonna send us a video, right? And you're gonna send us 2 versions of this, right? And I'm reluctant to give an answer. I just want to be like, so see ya. So I'm like dying into my chair, like, so see you later. And I don't say yeah because I don't want to commit, but I'm kind of like, okay, bye. And then it's just like, and I get like an email, I don't reply, and I'm just like, yeah. So I guess the moral of the story, guys, is if someone is unprofessional, like, you don't owe them shit.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's good.
Seriously,
I like that. So that was probably one of your awkward auditions. Let's go on the other side. So what's been your favorite role so far in voice acting?
Good question. Gosh, I don't know. There's been quite a few.
I know it's hard to pick sometimes.
I've enjoyed the ones where I've gotten to play American role, like, American accents,
Okay.
deep Southern, that kind of stuff. There's been a lot of like films I've done, like short films I've done, where I contributed, and my contribution obviously was the voice acting, and there was like physical filming involved. For example, if you go on Instagram, there's a production company called Long Distance Films. American-based production company, and this guy does these films all the time with actors from around the world, and we've collaborated on like 2 or 3 films together now. I love doing that. I love, to be honest, the ability to just record at will in your room whenever you want and just send it off, and that goes off somewhere in the world. Like, I just did an audio drama in Australia called Girls Night Out or something. See, it's a really odd name for what is kind of like a sci-fi show. I was very confused.
Oh, okay.
I'm still confused by it.
Okay.
But I play a few characters in that, and it was a lot of fun. And the director's like really cool and eccentric. She's like quite a fun woman. And that particular show won like the 2022 like Australian Podcast Award or something.
Wow.
And it just kind of blew my mind that I was contributing to something that was in Australia. Just like mad.
Yeah, you throw it out to the ether, and who knows where it lands. I like it.
So it was same with like podcasting, man. I've had in like guests from around the world, a lot from the States, and I guess it's just that made me appreciate what we have with the abilities with the internet, how the world is a lot smaller, and yeah, with what we do with acting, man. I mean, people come together and we share this passion, and we're from completely different walks of life, but we share this kind of love, this passion for voice acting, and we don't need to be in the same room to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That'll always blow my mind.
Yeah, like here we are in 3 completely different places in the world having a full-on conversation. This is exactly it. And I always thought this was awesome.
What do you mean? We're all in the same studio,
right? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even everything matches. Yeah, I mean, it's all.
No, so I was just kidding.
Yeah,
I can see you right there. Hey, how you doing?
Oh yeah.
Oh, hey.
Thanks.
Want to get lunch late? Oh wait, no. It's dinner, supper. How does it? Yes.
Supper.
Okay, anyways, continue.
Yes, I'm a 17th century king. Yes, supper.
Yes, go out and get some supper later. Yes. Well, I mean, very cool. So and I'm glad you've had a lot of opportunities as you've been going. Apologies. Apparently, my family's just arriving, which means that all my dogs are about to go crazy.
All right.
Yay. So let me ask you this, and generally, because I tend to think about in the future, where do you see yourself being in 5 years?
Oh, I hate that question.
Thank you.
Only because it's just buried with trauma of like job interviews that I didn't want.
Oh,
Sorry to bring that back.
5 years. I hope I'm alive. That's number one. Number two.
Good
And do you know what? I say that like jokingly, but there's been a lot of people I've seen pass away at this age, and it's really made me appreciate life so much more. I mentioned that recent sickness, which sounds overly dramatic, but it really did kind of make me sit there and think about how much I appreciate life, being alive, getting to do stuff like this. I hope I'm still doing this in 5 years. I think I'll still be doing this. I think that acting and voice acting and everything else, to me, are things that I'll always do because I love the way they make me feel. I love everything about them. Even when I get frustrated or I have a bad day on set, like I still love it. And I can't say that about many things in life, but I can certainly say it about acting. There's something about losing yourself in a character or in a voice or whatever, and especially when you got that particular take, or you did like 50 takes and you just keep fucking it up, and then you got it in your hand. You're like, yes, this is it.
Yep.
And you send it off and it's going to be brilliant. Stuff like that. You've got to love this. You have to absolutely love this. I read a book by Michael Caine it was a series of lectures that he did in the late 90s for the BBC, and it was adapted into a book series. And basically he said, if you want to be an actor, you have to you can't imagine yourself as anything else. This has to be like the only thing that you imagine yourself as. And when I started looking at it like that, I was like, yeah, this is what I was born to do. And when you say something like that, when you make a statement like that, people look at you like you're absolutely crazy, and they think, wow, you're arrogant. You think a lot of yourself. You know what? I do think a lot of myself. You know why? Because you should think a lot of yourself. Because people often don't think a lot of themselves and don't believe in themselves enough. And that is the only thing stopping you from actually achieving your dreams. 5 years ago, I didn't own a microphone. 5 years later, I've done productions all around the world, and I'm still doing it, and I love every single second of it. Don't let people tell you can't do something. Go out and do it.
Yep.
Well said.
Right there with you.
Absolutely. Very good. Wow. Dorino, anything to add on? We got about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure that I'm not hogging the spot.
I mean, I can just say, like, I'm certainly in the same boat there. Like, it took me a long while to realize, like, I guess it's more just my general upbringing, but like, I feel the same way, but more about musicianship. Like, I love making music. It is something I'm super good at. It is something that I can just do without having to put much thought into it at all. It's just like I sit down on my computer and I start programming drums, and I pull out my guitar and I start playing that, and it's yeah, I know how you feel. But I did want to ask you real quick because I'm assuming. So you said you went from that kind of like stuffy office job, and you're now, I'm assuming, just focused mostly on like artistic jobs, like or on screen and voice acting. Correct?
Hmm. Yes.
In what awesome way did you quit your office job?
That's a good question.
I wish I could tell you some badass story, but to be honest, I just left the country and came back to
Make it
the
up.
UK.
Oh, you left the country.
I left the country.
Nice. That's how you do it.
That's the
You just-
ultimate
you know,
ghosting.
your
I love
boss calls you up and is like, you know, are you gonna show up to work today? And you're like, oh, I actually got on
I
a
might be a bit
plane,
late.
so I'll see you never. Bye.
No, I give you the cliff notes. Like I left. I negotiated a remote job. They didn't go for it. I did. I actually didn't have a job for about a year and a half because of the pandemic. It screwed
Oh,
me.
sure.
But I had time to work on podcast, acting, everything, which was a lifesaver. It really helped set the framework for what was to come. And you know, I had a few jobs here and there, long form jobs, but something clicked last year where I realized if I'm going to do this, I have to go like all in, just absolutely just. And it's scary, you know, freelancing, being self-employed, what we do, it's terrifying. Right now, I don't even know if I'll make rent next month, but you know what? Every day is so exciting and every day is so different. I wouldn't change it for the world. You just don't be afraid, man. Like there was this saying I heard a while back, which I keep thinking about, which is everything that you could ever possibly want is on the other side of what you fear.
Ooh.
So if you overcome that, you will get what you want. But you got to be brave. You got to go to that place, and it will be terrifying. And there will be moments where you think, maybe I can't do this. I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to cope? You will cope. You'll be fine. Look at everything that you've already gotten through, right? Think about how much you want this. I'll add another aspect to this as well. See those days when you get frustrated, you feel like, oh, what's the point? Oh, I don't feel like I can do this. This is boring. Like, you know, I just don't have the effort. Tell yourself, how much do I want this? Start saying that to yourself, and then you'll start being like, well, of course I want this. And you'll be like, okay, well, why are you not willing to put the effort in? And just keep telling yourself that, and you'll find yourself doing it.
Wow.
God damn. Can I like
No,
hire
you're
you as an
fucking
inspirational like person? I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I
I'm
just
just the
want to have
guy
you in the
that made
corner
a-
every now and then because you've already said like three like things that have blown my mind in just
I
this
know,
last
right?
hour. And I keep telling Dorino because we're thinking about little shorts and stuff. It's like, okay, 22 minutes. This was it. Here's the last two. Well, crap. I mean, it's hard to go anywhere. I'll go back to my I have general questions that I like to ask somebody. So,
Sure.
thinking of 5 years in the future, if you were able to go back and talk to yourself when you first started this venture, this whole acting in general, what advice will you have for yourself?
I think that I would probably say something to the effect of, you've got something special. You haven't realized it yet, but you have. I know you've been afraid for years in general in life, but now it's the time to be brave. Now is the time to stop being afraid because you're going to begin an amazing journey that's going to take you in a lot of different directions, and you're only at the beginning. This is only the start. Enjoy this. Big things are coming.
God damn.
That
Sorry.
long pause was so fucking worth it. I was thinking to myself, like in post,
He's
I
got
might
nothing.
add some like
He's
crickets
got
in there or
nothing.
something, you know. And I was like, or I could just,
Imagine,
like, cut it
imagine,
out or
imagine if
something,
I
but-
just if I said nothing, and then after all of that pause, I just went, I don't know.
uh, The other question that I tend to ask is if somebody was to approach you and say, well, how do I get started with this whole voice acting thing? What would you tell them?
Buy a microphone, start playing with voices. Do you know what? Play with impressions a little bit. Just practice. A lot of the tips that you gave at the beginning of this podcast are really good. Just exercising with your voice, seeing what you can do with it. Like test your range. Okay, are you more comfortable in the lower register or the higher register? You know, identify. Like in the wrestling industry, Paul Heyman always says, accentuate the positives, hide the weaknesses. Right. So if you apply that logic to your voice, isolate that, figure out what you're good at, work on that, figure out what you're bad on, work at that, and just see your voice as like a tool that you can manipulate and use in a lot of different ways. Listen to ad reads, listen to commercials, just listen to any kind of media where you like the voice. You're like, oh, that's a cool voice. Try to emulate it. Try to figure out like, okay, is my voice more like that, or am I better at something else? Maybe like just try to identify what it is that you can do with your voice, and just keep practicing. Keep trying to find little small productions, be it student films or just like backstage is brilliant. You have to pay to get onto it, but like there's so many people looking for like audio drama, like, you know, actors for audio dramas, obviously video games. If you're prepared to do free work, there's plenty of work out there, and that's how you're going to build a portfolio. And that portfolio you can build into a reel, and then you can start pitching that. A big part of this, which I don't always hear people talk about, but the business side of things, is you need to network. You need to send emails. You need to reach out to people. You need to collab, go on shows like this, show people what you can do. It's about pitching yourself and throwing yourself out there and being bold. Like, for example, like, don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't email them because I don't know if I'm good enough. Fuck that. Just send the email. Just send it. Even if the recording sounds shit and you think your voice sounds shit, just send it. Who knows? Maybe you'll get some feedback. Maybe someone will be like, oh, do you know what? Let's work with you. Let's take a chance on you. Like, just take some bets on yourself, and I guarantee eventually people will start taking bets on you, and it will start working out.
Nice. Well said.
It's funny that you mentioned about being on this. Is we've gotten a lot of opportunities from people that we've had on. Dorino and I recently worked on Spearhead 1944, which was an Arma mod, and we wouldn't have had that had we not talked to somebody who was a guest here. And this is just how it all goes there. I mean, if you all get anything out of this, as Christian has said, it's getting over your fear, because that's the only thing that's really holding you back. And I love I love that as a message for this particular one, and thank you for bringing that on. Before we completely sign off, Dorino, you generally have a question?
Real quick thing, just because I need to say this. At the end of this show, we're going to do this big, like, ending thing. Don't leave, please, because we need to talk to you afterwards. I always have to say that because we have had people just disappear on us, and we're like,
yeah,
okay. But in any case, I wanted to ask you 2 questions completely unrelated to acting or voice acting, because prior to this show, we were talking about music. So it's a 2-part question. 1, do you play any instruments?
Yes, I sing, I play guitar, drums, bit of bass.
What is the weirdest instrument you have ever played? I hope this is taking you back to like grade school.
Yeah. Probably like some sort of African drums or some shit that would have looked a bit odd. Or maybe like a xylophone, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, maracas maybe. I don't know. Just I remember my music room. Okay, I'll tell, if you'll for me, just a quick story.
Yeah, but
so music at my school was just the absolute shits. I was so excited to do music because I was like, oh, music, I'm such a big fan. This would be great. Like, I can learn all these different instruments, and like I can see a drum kit and guitars and all this stuff that me, a poor kid, can't afford. Great. And like literally all we did was just spend time sitting at keyboards playing the same 5 notes, or learning about like really obscure history about certain music genres that I just didn't give two shits about. Like not even useful, like tracking the music tree or something like that. It was just like just I don't know, like hey, let's talk about classical music from like the 1400s, like the history of it. Like not even just learning it, just the history of it. Like yeah, like let's focus on this chord and what it means. It's so boring. And then like every now and again, I guess like my teacher was feeling like hippie vibes and we'd walk in one day and she'd have like, you know, like a prayer circle going on with like samba drums and I think every school's had this where everyone's got like, you know, oh, hey, let's take part, everyone. Let's like slap the drums, and like everyone just feels awkward as shit because we're all just awkward teenagers, and we're like, what the fuck is this? And just, you know, and we were just, and that was my impression of music. I knew some people that took it further and studied it, and they got to do more of the same from a theory perspective, but they also got to play a little bit of the music they liked, but mostly they did stuff they didn't want to. So music at my school was the shits. So I just basically learned. I self-taught myself. I traded my bike for my first guitar, and I just kept trucking on for years and years and years, and eventually I was able to like afford some stuff that was halfway decent, and we've sort of been trucking ever since. But yeah,
nice. Just some clarification for our listeners. When you say it was the shits, you mean that in a negative way, right? Not a positive way?
Well, because there is a clear distinction, isn't it? If you say that was the shit, it's like, yeah. Right. If you say that was the shits, it's like, you know, the drizzling shits. Like that was just absolute arse, you know.
I like that choice of adjective, drizzling, not like...
I hear it a lot in wrestling. Again, it always goes back to wrestling when they're talking about like a bad match and they're like Jim Cornette always says that. He's like, oh, that was the drizzling shits. You know, just like... That match was the drizzling shits.
Well, speaking of drizzling shits, my last question for you is, what is your favorite pizza topping?
Oh, come on, man.
In over 100 episodes, he always asks this to our guests.
I don't know. Oh, so there's this one here that we have. Oh, no, there's two places. Okay, so two places. I live in Manchester in the UK, and we've got some pretty good takeout places. We have like places like Domino's, and they have like, you know, there's like some burger sauce flavored pizza, which is pretty good. But Domino's is like commercial, so it's like, eh. But there's this pizza place called Crazy Pedro's here, and they used to be really good. Now they're like, eh. But they still do halfway decent pizza. And there's one, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's got like a really amazing sauce, bit of pepperoni, and then like lettuce and weird shit like that on
Fascinating.
it.
Okay.
But it's so good. It's so good. So maybe that.
As I say,
it's so good.
Like in the U.S., we have like a taco pizza, and American tacos have lettuce and tomatoes and whatnot on it. So.
Oh, okay.
But pepperoni and lettuce, that's weird.
Something like that.
I don't know if I could get behind that. I mean, you know, to each their own, but yeah, that's bizarre. I've never heard of that.
Dude, whatever. Before. It's like, it's pizza, isn't it? Like, it's amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can fucking put anything on a crust and call it pizza these days.
Well, yeah.
The only thing I draw the line at is like no anchovies. That's disgusting.
No.
I honestly can't say I've ever had anchovies on a pizza, and I know it's a popular topping.
Don't do it to yourself.
Just don't. No. You know, I've got a taco place right down the street. It actually makes, because they literally have, you know, the meat on the spike and everything. They make pizzas out of their taco stuff. I've yet to have one. I'm so curious about it, and I'm gonna have to like pictures, and so you all can check it out one of these days.
Oh, that's damn sexy, man.
I'll give it a shot for the show. Christian, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. I mean, let me tell you, it's been inspiring. It's you know, a lot of us have been in a down point, and I think you nailed it. It really is just the fear. It's so strong on some people, and just getting over that will really help you move forward. So thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. If you have any questions, anything you want us to talk about, please feel free to email us, coldreadthepodcast@gmail.com, or just join our Discord. Come on over. We'd love to have you on. This is a growing community. Come in for Fire and Brimstone's daily memes and go out with some sort of explanation if you need any help with anything. So come on in, drop us a line. We'd love to hear it. If you have any audio, any demos, anything you're working on, an accent, a character, something that's coming out, even an impression, we'd love to hear it. Drop it in. We want this to be a normal thing for us. So you just look at our last episode. We're very constructive with our feedback. We try not to be mean, but we'll try to put you where we are. We've done it to ourselves and we've improved over it. So absolutely, we'd love to have you. I will say hashtag get over your fear. If you give that to Dorino or to Renara for their services, I will pay for $20 in anything that you do with them. They'll let me know. First come, first serve. Anybody actually claims it, I'd love to see that.
I was really hoping you were going to do hashtag I fucking hate you.
Damn it. So either get past your fears or I fucking hate you. I'll do either of the two. Actually, I'll do $30 if you go I fucking hate you. Just for kicks and giggles.
There you go.
Yeah. So,
Fucking love you, man. What are you on about?
I claimed that an hour ago.
yeah, my opinions have changed within the hour. If anybody, oh, Kenny says, sup, Vinny. Oh, dear God. I didn't even see that Kenny Krieger joined. It's been a while since we've seen you. Welcome, Kenny. But yeah, sorry about that. I totally scrolled. Next week, it'll be me for the intro. So we'll see how that goes. I've got a couple things brewing, and yeah. I've got a show to put on in a couple weeks, so if you're in San Diego, let me know, and I'd love to have you over. Until next time,
because that's where I'm currently at.
Woo! Yes, we're all in the same studio. Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being here. We'll catch you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And remember to drink water.
There it is. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Okay, recording stop. Guys, thank you so much. We'll catch you all later. Thanks, Meg, for the comment. Fire and Brimstone, Kenny, thanks all for being here. Appreciate you. We're going to go offline. We'll catch you all next time. Bye.
Bye, chat.